welcome back to another episode with Seth Fishing. What's up? So today's gonna be a different video. It's gonna be a video mainly about the Texas-made bay bug lure. So as you can see, Texas-made has all kinds of colors and bay bugs. I'm gonna try to be quick with you guys. I don't wanna take too long, but this is actually a common question that I get a lot on my channel. How do you use the bay bug? How do you rig the bay bug? And what kind of jig head to use, how to retrieve it and things like that. And Texas-made has a lot of colors. Yellow, they have kind of like clear with blue on it. You know, like a goldish one, yellow, glow in the dark one, which you see a lot on my channel. They have so many of them, right? So these are all bay bug lures, by the way, and I'm sure they have other colors. These are just the ones that I have now. So one of the main things to take into consideration when you're gonna be fishing in with a bay bug lure is where you're gonna be fishing. Are you gonna be fishing at a pier? Are you gonna be fishing on a channel where it gets pretty deep in the middle and there's a lot of current? Are you gonna be fishing in the flats, shallow water, things like that? So those are gonna be the different things you gotta take into consideration whenever you're gonna use one and how you're gonna rig it. So the first one that I'm gonna be using today is, I'm gonna show you guys when I'm fishing on a fishing pier, for example. I know, and it's nighttime, I know that it's, the trouts are typically feeding on top. And the reason why I know that is because if you notice on a fishing pier, you'll notice that whenever there's a bunch of bait fish on top on the spotlight, that's usually where there tends to be a lot of blowups. The blowups is gonna be a mixture of sand trout, speckled trout, it could be redfish, ladyfish, things of that nature. So the jig head that we're gonna be using, that I typically use on a pier, is a light jig head, which is gonna be this one right here. I believe this is a 1/8. It's kind of on the light side. It's not heavy at all. So if it's definitely a windy day, you wanna get away from using this. If it's maybe 14, 15 mile per hour winds and you're at a fishing pier, use a 1/8. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna grab a bay bug lure, for example, whichever one you wanna use. If you're fishing a pier, at night, I suggest you use the glow in the dark bay bug lure or a yellow profile like this one right here. These yellow colors are gonna work very well as well under the spotlight. And first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna get a 1/8 jig head like so. You're gonna you need to measure the bay bug with the jig head so you know that the hook kind of comes out right in the center. Now, always make sure that whatever jig head hook you're using with the bay bug is a small bait. It's actually, I think, like 3 inches or so, and it's very thin. You don't want to use something too aggressive. For example, like this jig head. This is probably a 1/4 ounce jig head, but you'll notice here where the lure grabs onto is really thick. And this thickness here is almost as thick as the bay bug lure. And if you use something like this, what's gonna happen is it's gonna mess up the lure here where the entrance is at, and it's gonna make it kind of bent and kind of get weird and stuff like that. So you wanna get away from using something that has a really thick entrance on it, or whatever it's called on a jig head. So on this one, for example, this one has like some sort of wires inside of it. I don't know if it's good or bad. I don't really care for it, as long as it has something to grab onto. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna measure it like so. You'll notice that the bay bug has like a hump on top right here. I typically keep that hump on the top side, so it kind of looks like the shrimp is kind of doing this in the water. So you're gonna run your jig head right through the center. Kind of keep an eye on the hook. Make sure that the hook is in the center and it stays there for the while you're putting it in. Measure it pretty good, and then make sure that these little whiskers that the bay bug has are sticking out. And you're gonna have once you push it in, make sure that your little eyeballs are sticking out or whatever. And then you should have a pretty good set. And I suck at this, guys, but I tend to get better as I go. But it's gonna be pretty much just like that. So you're gonna see the hook right over the center of the bay bug lure, and you wanna keep it kind of straight. So if it's not straight, don't be afraid to push it in a little bit. And your bay bug should be pretty straight like so, just like that. And by doing this, you're gonna have that shrimp-like, you know, bay bug lure doing its thing, but you wanna keep it straight so when it's in the water, it's not bent or something like that from the side. It's not going that way. Otherwise, when it's in the water, it's not gonna you know, go smoothly. It's gonna kind of move all sporadic. Second thing you wanna do, you have the option. You can use a popping cork. These are very effective, which I never used, but I did hear that a lot of people that do use them do have a lot of good luck with them. I don't really use it other than when I notice that I'm at the fishing pier and I notice that there's a lot of blow-ups and I'm free lining the bay bug, nothing's hitting it. I will throw this on there, and as I'm bringing it in, I'll pop it. And as I'm popping it, it usually kind of, it'll make some noise, and it makes fish think that there's something kind of feeding on top. So they come and inspect it, and guess what they're gonna see? The bay bug. And I have gotten plenty of strikes with the popping cork whenever I free line it and I don't get any bites. The popping cork definitely does help get some attention to the bay bug. So here it is, guys, simple. Now, the thing that you wanna consider whenever you're gonna rig up a bay bug is gonna be the mono. You need to have a leader that runs from the bay bug to your swivel on your main line. Now, I don't recommend you use this line. This is a 40-pound mono. I'm just gonna use it to show you guys for the video. But the mono that I recommend you use is either gonna be a 10-pound, 15-pound, maybe a 20-pound mono, depending on where you're fishing, again, like I said. I typically use when I'm on the pier, I use this 20-pound Usuri fluorocarbon leader. The reason why is because this fluorocarbon leader it's a lot more, what do you call it, transparent in the water versus the mono. The mono is going to be a lot stronger when it comes down to abrasive, like if you hit the bottom of the pier, if you hit an oyster, whatever the case is, it's going to be a lot stronger than the fluorocarbon leader. However, this one's a lot more transparent. Fish will not see this as much as they will see this. And the reason why you want to use a 10-pound or a 15 or a 20-pound mono is because, one, it's thinner, less visible on the water, guys. And if you're fishing for trout, you do not need a 40-pound leader. So there's different knots in how to tie this. When I'm at the fishing pier, the one that I always use is going to be the simple lazy knot. You're going to run it through the swivel, like so, through the jig head, I'm sorry, just right through it. This is the easiest one you can do. I call it the lazy one because you just spin it. Depending on how thick the mono is, you can do this with when you're rigging up bait as well. If the mono is about 20 pounds, I usually always go around like 7 or 8 times. If it's 40 pounds, then you probably just need like 5 or 7. Who knows? So you kind of just twist it. You grab your line here, you run it through the little eye here that you made. You grab that line here, and all you're gonna do is you're gonna pull it like so. Hold on to your main line here, and then until you feel that it's already in there. So once it's already in there, you have a knot that looks kind of like this right here. Now this, I don't recommend if you're fishing maybe on a kayak, which I typically use on a kayak anyways. I don't know why I say that, but I don't recommend this when you're gonna jig it on the bottom. The reason why I tie it like this at the pier is because I know that the mono is gonna hold it. It's gonna be a pretty sturdy knot, especially for a trout. But when I throw it at a fishing pier, I'm gonna cast it and I'm just gonna slow retrieve it. I'm not going to be popping it or anything like that. It's just gonna be a slow retrieval. And I know Texas Made has some underwater footage. I'll see if I can put it here so you guys can kind of see what it looks like underwater. Now, the one that I'm going to show you, I believe, is a paddle tail lure being slow retrieved. but it's gonna be the same concept for the bait bug lure. You're gonna wanna slow retrieve it for trout. And the reason why you're gonna slow retrieve it is because at the pier, again, you wanna keep it on the surface or within about a foot under the surface. You don't need to keep this at the way bottom when you're fishing at a pier on the lights. You wanna keep it where it's visible, where the trouts can see it on top of them and they come up and grab it. Trouts are one of those predators that they like to kind of hide in the bottom, and they like to go up and kind of surprise the bait and grab it. They're not gonna really chase it as much unless they see it, then they'll kind of chase it. So you want to keep this bait bug lure near the surface, about a foot under, and just a slow retrieval. And as long as it's going slowly, these trouts, they'll smack it all day. So that's one way to tie it. The second way to tie it, guys, is gonna be, if you're gonna wanna bounce it in the bottom, let's say you're fishing in a shallow area in the flats, you're wade fishing, whatever the case is. First of all, if there's grass in the bottom, make sure you put a weedless jig on here. You can try bouncing this one without a weedless jig, but if it's very grassy, it's probably gonna pick up grass. Now, for this one, I'm gonna show you a video that Texas Made has here. Is actually the bait bug, where they're bouncing it on the bottom. So you can get an example of what it looks like underwater. Meanwhile, I post that video here so you can see it. I'm gonna grab my mono and get it ready. But the way to bounce the bait bug in the bottom, whether it's hard bottom, grass bottom, whatever the case is, it's a little different the way you tie it, because you want the jig head to have some room to kind of move a little bit. So when you're bouncing it, it goes straight down, and then you bounce it up, and then it goes straight down, and so forth. And if you notice the tail's already moving, you know, you'll see the movement of the tail as I'm messing with it, and it's not even underwater yet. So you can imagine underwater how much movement this is gonna make. And the way I tie that one, guys, is I grab my mono, I tie a little overhand knot, I believe it's called, and I wanna keep it towards close to the line, the mono, and I wanna make a little ring, probably about the size of an M&M, but right there, something small. Now that that's created, I'm gonna run my mono through the jig like so, and then I'm gonna run the line here through that little eye that I made. And then once I run that line through that little eye there, you'll notice that it's like that. Now what I'm gonna do now is kind of like the other one. I'm gonna twist it. Now typically, again, I'm using a 20-pound or lighter. So you're gonna grab it, twist it a couple, like maybe 5 or 6 times, grab your main line, and you're gonna run it right through that eye that you had made initially. And then you're gonna grab it, pull it, and then you basically have what they call a little loop knot or whatever it's called. Now, typically I try to make sure that this is facing downwards so that it's weedless, the mono, and you cut it, and now you're ready to roll. So this is basically what this does, guys, is it allows the jig to have some room to basically move underwater. And, ow, sharp hooks, guys, be careful. And what I'm gonna go ahead and do is I'm gonna go ahead and cut this mono off. And there you go. So it's gonna have some room, so whenever you pop it, it's gonna go up, and then it's gonna have room or clearance for it to go down. And if you tie it the other way, right on the little eye here, it's not gonna have that room to go up and down because it's gonna follow the line since you have it right on the eye. It's gonna have that tightness right here. So when you pop it, it's gonna do this, and then it's gonna kind of fall down with the mono, and then you wanna pop it again. You don't wanna do that when you're popping it on the bottom. You wanna have like a little loop knot where it has some play underwater. And that's basically how you tie the bait bug, guys, and how I use it depending on where I'm fishing. Again, if I'm fishing the pier, I do the other knot, and I use a 1/8 jig head. Now, if I am gonna fish, if I know that I'm gonna fish maybe at Puente de Lobos or somewhere where I'm casting into a deep channel and there's a lot of undercurrent and it's kind of windy, you'll notice that I don't use a 1/8 jig head. I will turn over more into like what is this? I believe this is like a 3/8 or a 1/4 ounce jig head. It's a little bigger, it's a lot heavier, and I make sure that it runs right through the middle like the other one, and the hook is exposed enough for it to catch a fish. This is kind of a big hook here, so you might have a lot of strikes missed on a jig head or a hook this size. I typically try to stay with the smaller one. You'll notice there the size of the hook. And the reason why I do that is because you'll notice that this one, a smaller fish can hit this one. If I'm fishing for trout, I want to use a jig head like this. If I'm fishing in a channel, I'm probably going to be fishing for redfish, maybe trout, bigger trouts, anything that's going to hit it with a bigger mouth. I don't mind using a bigger profile hook, but you are going to miss a lot of strikes. And a lot of the strikes you're missing is going to be the smaller fish. So you're doing yourself a favor anyways. But I'll use a heavier one because one, I can cast it against the wind easier or with the wind. And with the weight of it, it's going to allow it to sink to the bottom of the channel faster with the current versus a lighter jig head. And that's the reason why I would use a heavy jig head only in the deeper end where I'm trying to get to the bottom and trying to get my jig head down there. And you'll notice that on my channel, I always use ProCure. I use ProCure, which is shrimp flavored, and I basically put this on my bait bug lure all the time. I never fish without it. Why do I do this? This is a scented gel, guys. It's super sticky, super strong, super effective, and it's basically a shrimp flavored gel. And you grab it, you put it all over your bait bug lure here, and it's gonna stay on there for a couple of casts, maybe 10, 15 casts, and then I'll reapply it. The reason I apply ProCure is because sometimes some of these fish, they are kind of finicky. They want to make sure that it's a real shrimp sometimes. Sometimes they're a lot smarter than you think, these fish. With this scent, it just basically kind of, it makes that bite intensify or amplify, I guess you can say. Once they get a smell of the ProCure, they're gonna have it in their head and no doubt that this is a shrimp. So this is why I use ProCure on my channel all the time on the bait bug lure. You don't have to use it. You'll still catch fish with it either way. I just personally feel like I have to use ProCure no matter what. Whether I'm using this, whether I'm using a paddle tail lure, whether I'm using, what do you call it? I even applied it on my top waters, so I don't really care what I use. I always use ProCure. That's just my thing. But anyways, guys, that's basically the way you use a bait bug. On the popping cork, it's going to be the same concept. I'll show you guys. I don't want to make the video too long, but I'll show you guys so you understand. It's very simple. You're going to make sure that on the popping cork, you have the weighted bottom, which are the little gold balls on here, or silver, whatever color they are. It's the heavier side. Always make sure that the heavy side is facing downwards, because if you have it up backwards, you cast it in the water, you're going to notice that your popping cork is sideways. It's not going to be straight. So make sure the balls are on the bottom. You're going to grab your mono. Again, depending on the depth where you're fishing, you can do a 1 foot leader, 2 feet leader, even 3 feet leader. If you're fishing the jetties, you're probably going to want to use somewhere around 2 to 3 feet. You're going to grab your mono. You're going to run it through the eye there. And then you're gonna make a simple knot. The one that I always make, the lazy knot, I don't know what it's called. Maybe somebody can tell me in the comments. And then just run the mono through there, like so. And then you're gonna grab your bait bug lure. And then I poke myself with that jig head and that thing hurts. Same thing. You can do the lazy knot or you can do the other knot that we did earlier, and I probably recommend the second knot for this one. But I typically I get away with using the regular knot all the time. And then just make sure you cut your tag off or whatever to make sure that it's not gonna get in the way of your bite. And you'll basically have this right here, right? So you cast it out with a popping cork. one of the mistakes that I see a lot of guys do is they cast it in, they leave it in the water, and they use it as a floater, basically, and your shrimp is just hanging. That's all it's doing. And then they'll pop it, right? And they leave it there. You don't want to do that. When you cast a popping cork, the reason it's called the popping cork is because it pops, right? You don't want to just use it as a floater. So you're going to want to cast this as far as you can, guys, and you're going to do a slow retrieval. But as you're retrieving it, as it's coming in the water, you're going to pop it, retrieve, pop it, retrieve, pop it. And you're going to do that all the way in. You're going to do it again, cast it out again, bring it in, and you're going to pop it about every 5 to 10 seconds. And that's going to make the predator fish kind of like look for that popping to figure out if it's another fish eating, blow ups from bait, things like that. And they're going to see this chasing or trailing the popping cork. And when they see the bait bug trailing the popping cork, they're going to hit it. The popping cork is so effective, guys, that fish will sometimes even strike the popping cork if you're using it the right way. But don't cast it in the water and just let it float like this and then pop it every 5 minutes. That's not going to do anything. You want to cast it out. As you're bringing it in, you're popping it, bringing it in, popping it, bringing it in, popping it every 5 to 10 seconds. That's really going to call those predators and get you to hit the bait bug. And that is how you use the popping cork with the bait bug. But it's pretty simple, guys. Not a big deal. You know, if you have any questions regarding the bait bug lure, let me know in the comments. I know I've been getting messages on Messenger, my Instagram, my YouTube channel, where to buy them, how to use them, things like that, what colors I use. And the one that I use at the pier, again, is going to be the glow-in-the-dark one. If you can't find these, because they are selling very, very fast, try to find you some yellow ones. These work just as well. I'm pretty sure you can use white, you can use clear, you know, maybe even this color. I haven't used it yet. But anything that's going to kind of correlate with the water, the clarity of the water, the lighting, all that good stuff. If you guys want me to make another video on how to fish a paddle tail, how to jig a paddle tail, they're very similar, nothing too different about it. But I can certainly make a video for it. Any other questions you guys have on how to use these, let me know in the comments down below. And remember, guys, I do have TikTok, I have Instagram, I have my YouTube page. They're all under the same name, Seth Fishing. So don't be afraid to go out there on there and subscribe. If you're not subscribed on this channel, please go ahead and subscribe, because I am going to be doing some giveaways soon. Our subscriber count has been increasing by a lot, and it's pretty exciting, and I appreciate that from you guys. So I'm going to be doing an announcement coming maybe in the next 1 or 2 videos or 3 videos on a giveaway that we're going to be doing for the subscribers that are on the channel that have been supporting me from day one. So with that being said, guys, I do want to thank Texas Made Lures for making this possible and making these videos possible and allowing me to be able to fish more effectively and save tons of money by giving me so many Texas Made Lures as a sponsor of the channel. I have all kinds of lures, guys. I have freaking, you know, minnows here. I have those little white little mullets, all kinds of different paddle tail lures that we can talk about this on a different channel. I have so many bags here, but I do want to say shout out to Texas Made Lures. Thank you guys for making this happen. And that's it, man. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. It's a quick video on how to use the bait bug. See you guys in the next one. Peace.